So you are our special guest for the aging, on the topic of aging because of your public health background.
We're excited. We're excited. You're our first guest.
Oh boy, no pressure. First guest, no pressure. No pressure. I'm like,
Welcome to The Road to Soul Joy Wellness, where a coach and a therapist explore the journey to living your best life on purpose. Here are Joy Williams and Nadine Huesner, your host.
Hello, new day, new choices.
Yes, a new road to soul joy.
Well, Joy, I'm super happy today because we have a wonderful guest with us, Dr. Sadie McConnor. And I think she's going to really add a wonderful aspect to our daily talks. Dr. McConnor comes with an extensive background in public health, and our topic today is really talking about aging. And so, Dr. McConnor, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I'm Dr. Sadie McConnor. My doctorate degree is in podiatric medicine, and my master's in public health is with a concentration in health equity. I also worked on a master's in biology with a minor in micro, and my bachelor's is major in biology with a minor in chemistry. I've been in academics for over 20 years. So I've been teaching gross anatomy, histology, all kinds of ologies. And I've also been very, very, very community oriented, the chair of the Community Action Group, which is a section of the Fetal Infant Mortality Review Board for Volusia and Flagler counties here in Florida. I'm also a member of the League of Women Voters. I've also been on the Action Board for the American Public Health Association and a homeless women's shelter, kind of mentored them. So I'm just very, very much into community. I think it's kind of a family thing. My mother's always said you have to give back to your community. And I truly believe that. This morning is also giving back to my community and my radio show. Forgot about that. Yeah. A radio show called Your Best Life. And that's what I try to it's definitely an act of love. So I try to teach community about financial health, mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. So I enjoy learning, and always God has blessed me. I always have an experience of learning no matter where I am. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, welcome and thank you for coming. So there's so many things about what you said that are exciting to me. One, your radio show, Your Best Life. My tagline is Your Best Life on Purpose, living your best life on purpose. So we're aligned there. And then I really talk about health equity a lot. And then even as the person with no children, I talk about maternal and infant health equity and more. So those are exciting things to me, especially to let people know, because in the Black community, we seem not to know that this is a problem for all people, all Black women, irrespective of your education and economic background. And people like to make it really that you're marginalized if it's just education and income, which is not the problem. It's across everything. So I'm excited to have you here and to talk about aging.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, it's what we're talking about is on the other scope, but the same health inequities and same health disparities that we experienced in the beginning of life, we also experiencing them at the aging stages of our life, in the geriatric stage. It's been a lot of so many of the same things. When I talk about fetal infant mortality and attend those meetings, we talk about the weight of the babies and the condition of the mom and all those things. But when we turn it into our lives in the geriatric stage or the aging stages of our lives, you find that so many of the same things, because elderly people need to still maintain weight and to eat properly, and they're dealing with the different chronic illnesses, and how we as people of color or African Americans, descendants of enslaved persons, how we still don't have the same resources available to us, just like we didn't have them in the beginning. I just think it's for our lives for us to have more longevity in our lives. It's just amazing to me. It's definitely by God's grace, because it's not set up for us to live and definitely not to live that long. The system, we've talked about it during the beginning of the presidential campaigns and things like that nature. The systemic racism, unfortunately, you can't, I would like to go around it. I would like to believe it's not true. I'd like to minimize it, but I would be lying to myself, and I don't enjoy lying to me. So I have to admit that there is definitely a change. On top of the chronic illnesses for the aging is the financial issue. A lot of us, unfortunately, throughout lives, we all know that women make 64 cents. A Black woman makes 64 cents to every dollar a white man makes. So it's, even if she saved every dime, which she can't because she's got expenditures, she's still going to wind up on the other side. So, when you see women that have retired, normally that would have retired and they're working at Publix and they're working at Walmart, be gracious to them, because they would love to be home with their grandchildren. They would love to be home going to get tea or whatever, but they've got bills to pay. So, yeah.
Wow. There was a lot there. I thought what was pretty interesting about what you spoke about is how, the same measures or standards that are used to measure our health are used when we become seniors, when we mature in life. And it's interesting that for many of us, those things may not change in the end stages of our lives, right? Food, economics, where you live, all those things are determinants of your health throughout your lifespan.
Right. It's the basis of public health, where you live, work, play, and and if you're living somewhere, it brings back to mind. I was involved in a group of women that were walking and things of that nature, and some of the ladies really were walking, really trying to lose weight. And one of the ladies I said, well, why don't you just, because I walk in my neighborhood, so you know how you can make an assumption that what you can do, other people can do. And I asked her, I said, well, why don't you just walk in your neighborhood every morning? Just go 5, 10, 15 minutes, keep it going. And I had to come to the realization that everybody's neighborhood doesn't have that walkability. And she brought it to my attention, and I thank her for that, because she said, I'm afraid to walk in my neighborhood because of the crime there in my neighborhood, and because of the dogs that that don't have leashes.
And now for our word for today. Even though we're talking about aging, our word of the day is going to talk about being young. So it's 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. One of the things I thought when I took that was not just about young in age. Sometimes it's young in a situation. So I think we have to be conscious of that. Like new people come to a job, or new people come to a space or organization, that we treat people differently, and we treat those young people in an organization. So what do you think?
And I think also that there's so much that everybody has to contribute to every situation. Oftentimes, I think learning is an ongoing experience. So no matter what age you are, because I think about myself, and even with technology, and how I look to the young to teach me, to keep me relevant or whatever. I think people do themselves a disservice to think that they know it all. Knowledge is not destination, it is a journey. So I definitely believe in acknowledging and supporting the young and the information that they have to share.
That's great, because I also believe you can't really change your perspective. So when I was young, I didn't want people to disrespect me because I was young. So I can't, now that I'm older, just ignore young people.
Yeah, we should take those experiences that we've had in our lives and learn from them, and do unto others as we wish others had do unto us.
Yay, so great word of the day. Be respectful of the youth and the young.
Yes, because we are young.
Yes, always.
Always.
Back to the rest of the show.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about it like that. We were talking, I remember talking about a situation, a clinical case with another colleague, and we were talking about the lady not, her not going to her visits. But we forget having a vehicle is a privilege. Cars are expensive. You've got to pay for the car. You've got to put gas in the car. You got to maintain the car. You got to pay tags and taxes on the car. You got to pay insurance. That can be rather expensive. And so how do you, especially in the South, like if you're in the North, you jump on the bus or the train. But in the South, you're going to take a bus? It's 2 hours to go 15 minutes. Or, and so sometimes people just say, forget it, I'm not going. Or, they're concerned about someone else rather than their own health. So, yeah, it definitely does. It's some of the exact same things. The diet, of the elderly, not eating properly because maybe they can't afford to eat properly. When I did the residency program at the VA Medical Center in Maryland, I remember having a patient that basically told me that either I can pay for my medication or I can pay for my food. And in the great United States of America, why should anyone have to choose between those when both of those are necessities in life? But and when someone brings that to your attention, because you may not have to, you may have nice health insurance and you never even had to make that choice. But when you hear someone that's right in front of you, there's another human being just like you, that has served our country. When we always say, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. But do we really thank them for their service? Do we really? In our actions, I remember this monk said many, many, many years ago, he said, when all is said and done, more is said than done. And, we constantly saying these things, but what are we doing behind it? Are we really covering people?
Yeah, I know that for seniors that are in multiple medications that are on necessities for them, that sounds really prohibitive. Back to one of the things you were talking about earlier, because I think we all don't always consider, especially for me living in between the suburbs and the city, that I have greater access to transportation, but that walkability of your areas, like things that should be easy for everybody, and they're not. But that is the compounding effect of systemic racism, because we are in neighborhoods where we are because of the history of redlining, and our neighborhoods have less infrastructure because of the way they spend money, and people act as if it has to be that way. It doesn't. We could say we're spending money in a marginalized area or area without resources, and then when it becomes gentrified, the population that's been there forever still doesn't benefit from it. So we are in an interesting situation. And then as you're getting older, the way taxes, even if you own your own property, the way your property taxes go, you're paying more and more and more. And that's a made up system too. So it could all change. So yeah, it's
I've seen on television on so many, different episodes, and I'm sure you've seen it on the news where, a woman is, elderly or aging, and she's already paid for her home, like you mentioned, and now she can't afford to stay in the home because of the taxes. I'm like, she's sacrificed all her life. How, to me, that is just so hard, because she sacrificed how many years did she not go to work 2 jobs, or trying to double up on her mortgage, trying to make sure that finally her mortgage is paid off, and she celebrates, my mortgage is paid, so I'm free, I'm free because I paid my mortgage off, I've done it. And then taxes come along and she's like, gosh, I can't afford these taxes. And she's moved out of the home that she has sacrificed for 30, 40 years because she can't pay taxes. It makes me think that these homes that we sacrifice for this land, it's really not ours. It's not ours at all. It's not really meant to ever be ours. It makes me think that. I may be thinking wrong, but I just think that it's like it's not ours. I know on a spiritual level, on godly level, that the heavens and the earth belong to God, and that we're basically leased to leased to own. We're just we drive that car, but on a financial level in on the earth in the United States of America, that's not that it's not meant for you to ever pay things off. It really isn't. It's always and I talk to people that live in other countries, and every time they put a brick and build their house, the house is paid. That brick is paid for, and that's not our mentality in America. Is to be in debt, and the Bible tells you to you should owe no man but to love him. And when you owe him constantly, you constantly are doing things you wouldn't normally do because you owe him. So and I'm sure that with the aging process, it takes its toll, and sometimes you just get tired of fighting. You just get tired of fighting. The fight gets old.
Yeah, and and those are the stressors, right? You think as you get older, our stress levels are supposed to go down, but they actually go up, and that is what affects our health, right?
Yeah.
As we age, these are the things we start worrying about, and economics plays a huge part. I know often people will say, well, it's your diet and it's this, but economics is a big part of the effects on how it affects us as we age. Because I mean, you worked your whole life, multiple jobs possibly, and now this is the situation where you can't even afford to pay your taxes.
And paying for all the can't afford to pay your taxes, maybe also because you have chronic illnesses that you have to pay for your medication. So it's kind of like it just goes around and around and around, and you're just it's tiresome. Like you're saying, you shouldn't. They say the best is yet to come, and it doesn't make you feel like the best is yet to come. It really you're working hard to finally get the relief. But it is like you're saying, the exercising is important, and it does help with the stress, and it does help with with your mental health. With you're working, walking for like 10 minutes, just 10 minutes can help, get the circulation going. And watching what you eat, trying to, eat a portion of it, not eat, I was teasing someone, I was talking to a lady on my radio show this past week. She's the founder and CEO of the Black Heart Association, which I never knew there was one. And she was saying, because she had 3 heart attacks at 30 something years old, and as a Black woman. And then another, I interviewed one of her friends, one of the members of her organization, that had cardiac arrest in her 40s. Her heart just stopped because of her blood pressure. It was so out of whack. But yeah, geriatrics, getting older and aging, the exercise really matters, the diet really matters. But like Joy was saying, it's kind of where you're working, where you're living, where if you live in paid your mortgage off, and you live in a place that has environmental health issues, what do you do about that? I've paid my mortgage. I didn't know they were going to build that over there. I didn't know the air quality was that bad here. So
yeah, and I think when we look at that, because I live in Harlem, and we've talked about, and one of my favorite community service groups is We Act for Environmental Justice. So when we look at Harlem and all the things that were designed there, there's a sewage treatment plant. There's a park over top of it, but if you didn't know it was a sewage treatment plant, it is. There are, I think there are 5 bus depots in Manhattan, and 3 of them are in Harlem. So they've advocated to have electric vehicles.
And 3 of them are in Harlem.
Mm-hmm. And then the number of bridges that come into Harlem. So you might not think about it if you're not paying attention to environmental issues. So when we go back to where we were basically forced to live, right? So I live in a block where it was built for white people, but they didn't want to live there. Then it was red lines, and Black people couldn't move in, and they finally let Black people move in. So we were relegated to where we can live. So I think one of the positive things is that more people are aware of some of these problems, and some of the things are advocating for them. And then, so hopefully more of us will do that. So what are some positive things that people can do now in preparation for them being older? And then if they're older, what should they try to do to help themselves?
Well, as we were mentioning, the just even getting in what I've seen in my neighborhood, getting another girlfriend that you just can walk with you in the morning or in the afternoon, whatever is a good time of day for you guys to walk. I always stay in the morning because I like to get it out of the way. And then the rest of the day is mine. But the exercising, whether you're doing walking, whether you're doing Pilates or yoga, or in depending upon the city that you're living in, the mayor, like here in Daytona, the mayor has a fitness challenge. In different cities, they have little fitness challenges. Being involved with that, which is usually at a very minimal fee. The one here is $20, and you get like 10 classes for $20, and you get a bag, and you get all kinds of, and then you can win prizes, and they, so that $20 is very well spent. The walking, just get a decent pair of sneakers and whatever you need to stay warm while you're walking and get out there. The food intake, try to, constantly turn those labels over, because what it says, it'll say organic and all the keywords on the front, excuse me, which is a marketing way, but it's to really turn things over. So many of us think of different ethnic foods being automatically, that ethnic food is always healthy. And you turn it over and you see 890 milligrams of sodium, or you see trans fats, because they cook, they cook their foods or make the foods in America to suit our palate. Those are things that they don't even eat. So looking at your diet, like I gave the example, I said, I like sweet potato pie, but you don't have to eat the entire pie. You can have a slice of the pie and, do what you, use psychology 101. Like I got Girl Scout cookies the other day. What I did was had one pack, put the other pack in the freezer. All right. Does that mean you're not going to eat them? But doesn't mean that. It means maybe it's going to be a little longer for you to eat them because you got to throw them out. Things of that nature. Do what you need to do with the exercise, with the eating habits, and support. Have even your girlfriend that you're walking with in the morning. You can talk to her about some of the things if you can if there's a trust there, and that eases that, having the support, having somebody to bounce things on back on. If you're able to get a mental health counselor, someone that you can talk to and tell them about what's going on. They can get different tools to help you learn how to deal and conquer with some things. Get support groups. I think that is that's important before before you get, we're all aging. The baby that was born yesterday is a day old today. So I don't know, can't say before aging, because when is it before aging? Because we're all aging. So yeah, those are different things that I think that definitely can help. And, and try to lose some weight, if you're already, at have an ideal BMI, maintain it. Because the fruits and vegetables, you're right. It depending upon where you get them, and like you said, farmers market. I liked the fact that there was once a drive to build your own gardens and things of that nature. That has that's a win-win, and it's really kind of hard for you to figure out a negative about having your own garden. It's where you're turning the soil, so you're also out there, and you're getting support because the other people in the community are talking with you. You're playing it. It's therapeutic. It's healthy. It's all kind of positive things in having your own garden. But depending upon where you live, there may not. If you're having HOA, they may say, "Oh, you can't have gardens in here in this HOA," or on this neighborhood or whatever. So that's the negative part about it. But if you have, especially if the aging population, it would be wonderful for them to be able to have their own garden. A lot of of 8 people that are aging to have their own gardens. It would I remember my parents moved to North Carolina, and both of them were born and raised in the South, but they had been in New York City for like 30 years. And they came to North Carolina and they didn't know really how to do the gardens. And they grew too much. And they grew all these, I had tons of collard greens and turnips, and everybody that came to visit got left with a bag of collard greens, everybody. And they were just like, hey, you want a bag of collard greens? And they'd go out there and pick them fresh. And while they're out there picking them fresh, they get to talk and, hey, how's your children? How's this and everything? But who's going to complain about fresh greens and for free? No one's going to complain about that. And the nutritional value, as long as we don't, like I'm talking to someone else, as long as we stop, we don't porkify the collard greens, it's going to be, we still got the vitamin A, and, collards were, they were the throwaway vegetable, because that's what we learned. Our ancestors that were enslaved, they learned to take what was to be thrown away and made it taste good. They said, hey, I've got to eat it anyway, so at least it should taste good. And so they did what, fatback was what was, the owners plantation owners didn't want that. The pig feet, who wants the feet? They want the ham, and so they threw it, they like, here. And so we made them delicate, collard greens were tough greens. It was never meant to, turnip greens and things of that. They were never meant to really be great. But we've made them great. But we have to, like our seniors, they, a lot of us still eat like our moms grandmothers taught us how to cook this, how to cook that. It just needs to kind of turn things a little bit around and still taste good. I definitely don't want to take away, our taste buds are there for a reason. But yeah, it's definitely working on our exercise and our diet to avoid some of these chronic illnesses, and to, if possible, you can go to your physician and they do your hemoglobin A1C and say, hey, it's down to a 5. We're going to need to take you off of, your medication for diabetes, because we're going to take you off, but we're going to monitor you, make sure that, it stays down. And people don't realize that, excuse me, being diabetic can lead to so many other illnesses, with your kidneys, with your heart, with your legs. As a podiatrist, that was so many times that I had to do debridement on diabetic ulcers, because they develop diabetic neuropathy. With your eyes, diabetic retinopathy, you can go blind because you're diabetic. So there's so many things that, and it's not always just the sweets, because carbohydrates, change into a sugar once they get into our mouths. So it's not just eating the sweet going to turn into a sweet, it's those carbs as well. And exercising, and just, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was just saying, she said, I gained weight when I was exercising, but I went to pretty much a vegan diet. I said, you got to decrease your portion size. You can't have the plate full of whatever decrease. And she says, but then I'm hungry. I said, you're going to be hungry because your stomach has got to shrink before you can finally start doing it. Because, like most of us know that 80% of losing weight is the diet. So you don't really have to exercise. It's a good thing to do. It helps bring things back in place. It helps with so many different things, but with the vascularity, which is going to decrease, because, it's like having the square footage of a house, right? You got a 3,500 square foot house. Well, you got to have the air conditioners got to be pumping up, right? So just imagine that being your vascularity, that you're going to have to increase the vascularity because you've got some more square footage, you got more fat, and then you got to decrease it because you no longer have that. So it takes some time. You didn't gain, you didn't gain the weight overnight. It was progressive. So be patient with yourself and lose the weight. But that's definitely something for the aging, to eat properly. And like you said in the beginning, it was also to eat properly, because we have WIC because of that, which our community, which we had, I guess, an acronym and a program for the elderly to eat properly. But so often, and a country is usually judged by how they treat their young and their old. And if we're judged by how we treat our young and our old, we're not such a good country. because we don't treat our young very well, our infants. Because I have to bring it up, Joy, and I think that that's something that's near and dear to your heart, is the infant mortality in the African American community. It's numbered by every 1,000 births, and the majority, our population in the United States of America, usually there's 6 out of 1,000 babies that die before they reach their first birthday. In the Black community, it's usually double. And to think, just to imagine that someone tells you that they had the baby, and before the baby, you can celebrate that baby's first birthday, they're no longer here. That is just, and for ours to be, that's pretty earth shattering. To tell your audience, watch the documentary. It's called Death by Delivery. And this was made like in 2016. This was not made like many, many, many years ago. Or even Unnatural Causes. It's a documentary called Unnatural Causes. And the specific one is called When the Bow Breaks. And it talks about, just like you said, Joy, people, African-American women that are educated, that have insurance, that are, financially sound, and we think about Serena Williams, right? You think about her. You think about, gosh, it's been so many women, so many famous women that have had, unfortunately, they're African-American women. And, Serena Williams has told her story numerous times that they just didn't even believe her. And it's not like she didn't have the money. It's not like she didn't have the insurance coverage. It's just, you're like, okay, even she is being discriminated against. And you're just like, whoa. So, do you have a chance? But we found that doulas, a birth doula, and midwives will increase our chances of our babies and us surviving. So there's a lot on that. And that's the same thing with, if we can get with the elderly, if we can get someone, or seniors too, they have that support. That support makes such a big difference. And stop minimizing and I think appreciating our elderly. I have always loved to talk to. Growing up in New York City, my parents used to tease me that I was an old woman, because one of my best friends was like 70 and I was 11 or 12. I was like, those are the people to hang out with. Look, they got food, they got candy. What they can share with you. I don't think you have to go through everything in life. Somebody can tell you about it. You don't have to experience it all. So I try to appreciate those that are aging. They've got so much wisdom to share with you. So I wish that I wish that in our community that we would. I think that definitely wish we would.
One of the things that you've said throughout a lot of this is that it sort of leads to the talk about community, because you talked about even when your parents were gardening, it was forming community, saying to go walk with a girlfriend. That's community. And even here, when you're trying to celebrate and learn from the wisdom of others, so that community part sounds like one thing that could be really important to help people improve their health, their emotional, mental, and physical health as well. So what would you say on that?
I think that's why we gravitated so much to the church, because the church was at one time, it was very much our community thing. We could go there and find out what was going on in the neighborhood. We could go there and eat, even if we could go there and you'd have the commonality that you had with those people was like a commonality that you didn't have with anyone else. You had the religion, you had the food. It was like your niche. I was a member when I was in Marietta, with Turner Chapel AME Church. And they had so many, I said, I used to tease friends that would join. I said, they have so many different ministries. You should be able to find something to fit in, because they had something for women. They had something for children. They had something for single mothers. They had something for, it was just so many different things. It was definitely, I always felt like I belonged. It was always, and even the Bible study classes would, like, they had one, after that, how to hurting people hurt people, and that would be, a different ministry. Find out in the Bible, how does that relate? Or, They would even have classes talking about, divorce, how God feels about divorce and things of that nature, never knowing what people are going through, because that's, so community kind of really, really, streams through. And with the aging, look at, we look at, you and I, all of us in here, we look on social media and we'll see our grandmothers in their usher uniforms, and they're so proud of, of being in church or they're in the flower community, and they make sure that the church has beautiful flowers, and their purpose, their community. And making that, we're having our anniversary. So she's making the pound cake that she only makes once a year. She's making it for that, So yeah, it's a community thing. And I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think about that, because you talk about that we the eating and all those things together, besides the community, we have everybody in a collective and everybody can eat. It's not because you have low income, you're just a part of the community. So it's a way for us to serve everybody without calling out people like that you need some special assistance. It's just you're part of the community. So everybody's benefiting from that. Yeah.
I have to tell you, at our church at Turner Chapel on Wednesdays when we had Bible study, they used to serve dinner before Bible study, and it would actually be $5. And it was actually wonderful because in a big city when everybody's driving, it's great when you have your kids or you whatever, you ate dinner with your community of church members, $5. You have your Bible study, and then you go home, take a bath, a shower, whatever, because you're done for the day. You've already had, like you're saying, nobody knows that $5 was hard for you to come by. Or if they do know it, some of the ladies in the kitchen be like, "Don't worry about that money, honey. Just get you a plate." And we've all heard that. Don't worry about that. Get you a plate, and it made all the difference in the world. So yeah.
The one thing though, because there is another documentary, Before You Eat the Church Food. So we have to make sure that our church food is healthier. So
yes. We definitely have to. But a lot of us aren't. A lot of us, I think, and I talked about that the other day. A lot, and not just African Americans, but people. Period. We kind of separate what we eat because we like that taste from what it, from the state of our health. I don't know why we don't seem to join them together. The pizza with all that cheese has more sodium than a bag of potato chips. We don't think about it. We just said, ooh, gooey cheese, pizza. I've been eating pizza all my life. Yeah, I'll take the pizza. So, we separate them. We don't know that about glycemic index. I did in the last semester of my MPH, I had a patient that was double amputee, and he also had pneumonia. He had kidney, all of those things, and he just thought because his mother was diabetic and she was an amputee, he just thought it was genetic. He never associated, and they did not educate him to let him know that his diet he was not juvenile onset diabetes. His diet made the difference in his condition. He didn't know about glycemic index. He didn't know about eating purple potatoes rather than the russet potatoes. He didn't know that, drinking the iced tea with all the sugar in it made the difference. He had no idea. So like you're saying, if we had that community, like council on aging, if they're sitting there talk about the foods that they're eating, the effects that this food has on you. So yeah, you're right, definitely on the food and the exercising, because you could exercise all day long, and you're still eating like you were eating before, you'll have more muscular legs, but they'll be just as large.
The muscles under a layer of extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nadine, do you have another question?
No, I don't. I don't have anything. I think this was a really wonderful conversation, Dr. McConnor. You really added so much to the discussion with the facts and your own personal experiences in the field. I think ultimately this is an opportunity for everybody to just start being a little more mindful about, well, how do we age, and the choices we make that, there's some studies that definitely show that we don't age as well, right? Because of all those health issues and we spoke about why those health issues, access, food, doctors, economics, all of these things. I hope this helps people to really think about the choices that they make, and that we have the choice, we have the power to really turn those numbers around, turn our health outcomes around. So thank you. I'm enjoying the conversation completely.
Me too. I think it's definitely been very informative, and also helps us so we can be advocates for ourselves and for our communities, because we can fight the systemic issues that we have. And the first step is for us to be aware. So thank you so much, Dr. McConnor. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Can I mention this one last thing? When you were talking, I just wanted to make sure that we knew about the and I think someone has already mentioned it, the stressors in our lives, and those stressors can cause so many things. It can as we were talking about in the beginning of life and at the end of life or aging, that the stressors in our lives can cause so many of our health issues. So many, I think I keep thinking about the title of that book that said your body keeps the score. It just constantly is saying, yeah, you're working 2 and 3 jobs to pay off this house, but believe me, that's putting pressure on you when you should be resting and relaxing or walking or cooking a decent meal. You're out there, working that extra job, or that, doing this extra things, trying to make things. But those stressors, even the stressors that cause our mental health issues, or that may not be genetic, because, they definitely, those stressors really play a role. I just want to make sure we had that in there, which kind of it's kind of like full circle, which
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's definitely a very good point. So we love that point, and both Nadine and I are really talk a lot about self-care. So yeah, those stressors definitely can have an impact on us. So thank you. This has been great. This is you have been our first fabulous guest. So we're excited. We're excited to have you. Thank you so much. And we will, I'm sure, invite you back, because we had a great conversation. So thank you.
But thank you for inviting me. I hope I was able to spread some knowledge. And I'm always, like I said in the beginning, I'm always learning, and I've learned from you ladies. And I thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Join us next time as we continue to focus on living our best life on purpose.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Road to Soul Joy Wellness. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love your feedback and a chance to answer your questions, and we may even share your ideas on the show. Until the next time, enjoy your time on the road to Soul Joy Wellness.